Hello and welcome to Buildings of Tomorrow. My name is John Lester, and during this episode we'll be talking about some of the benefits of using the BIM approach throughout the operation phase. I'm joined today by Wolfgang Hass in the studio, who is a principal expert on the BIM topic. Wolfgang, thank you for joining us. Give us some insight into some of the benefits of using the BIM process throughout the operation phase.
I think the biggest benefit out of BIM is in the operation phase.
Okay.
And in general, if you have a look to the complete life cycle, the biggest amount of money you have to spend is during the operation. These are 80%. The investment for the design and build is just 20%. So the focus should be on this operational phase. But as you know, there are some problems. There are lots of user changes, different companies who are responsible for the facility management, for the operation and so on. So there are lots of handovers and so on. Therefore, it's very important to have a database which fits to all the different players, also in the operational phase. Today, there's a little bit of a problem that the influence of the operators to the designers is not really given. In many cases, they are not known. And there's another problem. In the early beginning, everybody's looking to build a cheap building, and maybe a small investment in the beginning would help in the operational phase. But it's a different pocket, and so we have to change a little bit the mind, or let's say the background. But just having a look now to the operational phase, the problem today starts at the end with the handover. If you see what's handed over from the planned build phase to the operational phase, it's in many tenders you will find the sentence, the documentation has been handed over in electronic form. What you get.
So this is at the end of the construction phase, taking all of the information they've collected and giving it to the person who bought the building.
In the tenders it's written in an electronic form. So what you as an operator will get is a PDF file and a CD. It's nice, but not very helpful.
This is modern technology, the CD,
Yeah, but it's electronic and so on.
Of course.
But it's not really fitting. Let's say a little bit more experienced operators, which had an influence, they were asking for data models, for example, for a Revit data model or for a Bentley data model for the building. But the problem is that it's not an harmonized database. So if the customer was really strong and asking for one CAD system for one database, the problem is that the different disciplines, they had to work with this software package, but there is more or less not the chance to bring together all the different data to one database. So then the operator has to deal with one vendor, but with 4 or 5 different databases.
Okay,
because there's no chance to bring them together, because the models are too big to bring them together into one, or the order criteria to bring them together are not longer given. So, and that's a little bit a nightmare for the operators.
Okay.
So it's quite usual that when they are taking over, they are first doing a documentation of what they got. So these are additional costs. And the next problem is there are lots of information which are hidden. For example, the tube or wiring in the wall. You can just make a documentation of what you see. So this information, what's in the wall, it's lost.
Is lost.
So, and with building information and with this project database, which has to be handled over from the build phase to the operational phase, you have transparency. And with this transparency from the first day on, you can really operate the building. And you can check whether the building is working as it was simulated in the virtual model before. So the learning phase of the building and the learning whether the simulations were correct, that's now possible from the first day on. So the commissioning during the operation, so the first year, is much more comfortable than today.
Does that ensure also if people know what they're being handed, if an owner-operator is given the correct information, that there is less information lost through that transfer process?
Yeah, sure. We are losing so much information today because not everybody is interested in everything. And if somebody is not interested, he will not take care about this information. And then the information is old or not longer available.
Or lost completely.
So and therefore we need a mechanism behind how to deal with these data, which are not in all phases interesting for everybody. And it's a question of time that you have a refurbishment in the building. And then you need to know what's built in where. What influence will it have if I take this wall away? Yeah. Is there any disturbance of the other floors because they will have no water or whatever? Yeah. So the transparency and the possibility also in the operational phase to simulate things, to check out what happens if then. Yeah. That's the big benefit. And it's much more than cleaning and exchanging carpet or painting a wall. It's the operation. And we should keep in mind that so many information, and I read numbers that 21% of the information which is available in the world will come out of buildings.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a huge amount of data.
Of data, yeah.
Yeah. And we are producing buildings. Yeah. So the data are coming somewhere out of our buildings. Yeah. So we should take care about the buildings. In the past, it was not so important. Yeah. The building was built and then data that doesn't play any role.
Disappeared.
Yeah, they disappeared, and it was good enough to have the physical building. Yeah, but in future, and that's again a learning out of other industry, data, that's the foundation of business. So transparency about the buildings, yeah, that's absolutely key.
And you said something very interesting there a little earlier about it's not just the information which is important for those stakeholders who are active at a certain period, it's all of the information, whether it's interesting at that time or not. Yeah. Because, as you say, so much is collected during the production phase or the design phase, which may be lost in the actual construction phase because they don't care about these specific details. So we need somewhere to put it so that in 10 years' time, when we look to go and find it, we know where to look.
Yeah, there's another question nobody's talking about today, the last phase of a building, when the building has to be recycled. Yeah. Nobody today is talking about recycling of a building. But how can you do a recycling if you do not know which material is built in where and which amount of this material? There's another problem. You know, this asbestos discussion we had some years ago, yeah? And the list of toxic materials which we are building in buildings today is existent. But the level is high enough that there's no rebuild necessary. But it's a question of time that these levels will go down, and then we have to remove material A, B, C, whatever. Yeah, and then it would be good to know how much is built in where. And in our model, in the BIM model, yeah, that's part of the database, knowing what material is built in. So we know exactly, yeah, because we have a declaration of each product, and the sum of all the products is a building at the end. Yeah, so we know what's built in where.
And we know for individual products, these declarations are made.
Yeah, we have to do it. Yeah. We have to do it for each of our products, yeah. But the building in total has no declaration today.
And if, again, we look at some other industries, this is crazy. We would never create a product and sell it without...
Yeah, you're not allowed to bring it to the market.
To tell people what to do with it, when it's broken, where to put it, when it is finished, and how long it should last.
Yeah, that's, again, an example where buildings are behaving a little bit different.
Yeah, and there's no reason they should.
Exactly.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time. And thank you all for joining us on Buildings of Tomorrow. Please like, comment, and share on this episode, and also subscribe to us here on this channel. We'll see you again soon.